Welcome into the Roaring Repeater podcast here on 7220sports.com. I'm your host, Cody Tucker, joined as always by Jared Newland. We've had a nice extended break. Some of us have been in Hawaii. Some of us have been watching football, which I'm not complaining because watching football, I actually got to watch it 3 times this spring. And it would have been 4 if the highway wasn't shut once.
I only got to watch once.
Well, and that's what we'll definitely talk about today. Especially from you. I want to hear from you because you saw it with fresh eyes. You were able to be in the crowd, and I definitely want to get your sense of stuff, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. Definitely go over that, the good, the bad, the ugly, what we're worried about. The other thing we do, though, Jared, we've got to say it because it's people jump off a cliff. It's spring. It's spring football, especially when it comes to offensive players. They're learning an entire new playbook. They're learning and as we found out, they're learning an entire new system, not just a playbook, but a system. I don't know if you remember this, Jared. Last year, Craig Bull, when I asked a question about the complexity of his offense, he literally stepped to the side of the podium and said, Cody, you want some dumbass offense that you clap, you take a snap, and you throw it. What did we see all day Thursday?
A lot of that.
And guess how many completions there were? If I was good at math, I could look them up right now, but a lot of completions. 600-plus yards of total offense, 500 of those through the air.
And yes, some of them were situational drills, and yes, some of them, they were probably supposed to be called sacks, and Salvell yelled at the head official, let it go, let it go, let it go, because you could tell the white team that was on defense a lot was pissed about it, because they want their stats. But if Salvell was only the defensive coordinator, like he was a year ago, he would have been complaining about those kind of calls.
Exactly. He admitted as much.
Yeah, but, it's a practice. Spring game is a glorified practice, and it ended up being some situational drills as well because they got down to goal line and they couldn't punch it in. So it was actually turned out to be be
I thought
both
so.
sides.
Yeah.
Wasn't as warm as it was supposed to be, though.
No, it was not.
I'm glad I had my windbreaker with me.
Yeah.
But I was sitting with Jim Talich for a while, and it was right when Nick got the fumble. His son Nick got that fumble recovery, and he goes, he kind of looked around, looked up, and he goes, was that Nick? I said, yeah. He had one last year, too, at the same time. We're good.
I think he even got it off Schoenfeld, too, the same player. There's always a spring game hero.
I said he always has his nose around the ball during spring ball for sure.
He does. And last year, it's kind of funny. He had a great spring game last year. He even got in on off. Did he? No, he had a couple of stops in the backfield.
Well, he was playing defensive line.
Nose tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Mr. Nick Talich is 6 foot 215.
Yeah. And he was playing
guard.
nose tackle. And he was probably a little bit lighter last year.
Yeah, he was beating the guys right in the middle. He had a couple tackles for loss. So Nick is he's a great kid, man. He's one of my favorite guys on that team. There's such a logjam at linebacker with a kid like him, though, and that's where you hope that a guy like him who can become that like special teams demon that just is on Johnny on the spot, because you're right. Yeah, I know you were just kind of half joking, but he is around the ball all the time. So start getting some turnovers on special teams, and we're talking. But, you look through these numbers, and you got to look at them with a grain of salt, of course. It's a spring game, but Evan Sabota, 17 of 27, 204 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions, was technically sacked twice. I thought Jaden Clemens looked really good. He was 18 of 27, 174 yards. Caden Anderson, 14 of 22, 116 yards. I thought Gage Brook even had moments there. He was only 3 of 8 for 19 yards, but he threw one toward the end zone that probably should have been caught. But I thought it just looks so much different, Jared. Like it's, you joked about it at the beginning of spring and you said, hey, are you going to have some elements of spread? I would say this is a spread with some elements of power running game.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because we all know the running back room is deep.
Very.
And McNeely is not even on the field yet.
Yeah.
And Harrison Whaley didn't really participate.
Yeah,
in
4 carries, I believe. Yeah.
So it's a deep room, and they're all capable of doing the same thing, yet in a different way.
Yeah. They always want that change up back, and that's somebody like a DeWine McNeely. We saw in his brief times 2 years ago where, man, he hits the hole.
Well,
and he's
Hawaii
a big,
game is a great example.
Right. Yeah, and he's a big, tall running back, too.
Long
strides.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you got, a scat back kind of guy in Harrison Whaley. And then DJ Jones, I thought he was arguably the MVP outside of anybody named Chris Durr Jr. 77 yards on 12 carries. He had one where he cut the wrong way. If he would have cut the right way, he would have been gone. He also caught a 40-yard – trying to find it here on my list. He had like a 40-yard snag on a screen pass with 30 seconds I think left in halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a spring game, so what can you take from that? But they sure weren't lying down the last 2 minutes of the half. That's for sure. Both teams got it at possession.
And you talk about screen passes. There was a lot of screen passes being thrown. So that's just an extension of a run game, especially if you do get them into those right hands of a running back with blockers ahead of him, or like a King who's fast as hell.
Or a John Michael Gillenborg who caught a couple.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and we didn't see we haven't seen screen passes in years. I've been covering this team since 2019. I can count the number of screen passes on one hand. I mean, that's crazy.
And you have 2 fingers missing.
It's true.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, it's true. I think it's I don't know. I mean, Chris Durr Jr., 12 catches, 121 yards. We haven't seen that kind of production since Tanner Gentry. I mean, it's been that long. And this kid's supposed to be in high school still. Sawville joked that he's going to let him stay home an additional week during the summer because, he's got to graduate. He needs to walk across the stage and get his diploma. That's how young that cat is.
Don't they mail those out?
He could probably do it, but man, he was really impressive. I wrote a column about him after the game. Just he could become a pest. And I had a fan ask me, who would you compare him to? Even in Wyoming history, who could you compare a guy like that to? I don't know that Wyoming's ever had a little dude like that who's just always open, and he can make the plays short, deep, over the middle. I don't know. I mean, I think about stature, maybe like Josh Barge type, Hoos Marsh type, but those guys didn't catch 12 balls for 121 yards in any game.
Yeah, you probably go back even further than that. It's a Robert Rivers type of a guy.
Yeah.
The Battle Cat.
Yep.
Or maybe even a Sean Wiggins in the slot.
Yeah.
But
just not many, though.
Yep. No, not really.
Many. Mm-mm. And he's tiny, man. When he got here, I thought this has to be a typo. 5'10", 147 when he got here. He's already put on 20 pounds.
Cody's one leg weighs 140.
No doubt about it. You can almost double Chris Durr's weight. And, but he already put on 20 pounds. I mean, that's incredible.
Well, similar to you.
Yeah, I definitely have put on 20 pounds. There's no doubt about it. And it's even scarier that summer's coming up.
You're just easy to take on you right in front of me.
It's even scarier knowing that it's beer drinking season.
Well, you were talking about all these other positions. We kind of skipped over the quarterback. And I kind of want to go back to it because all 4 of them had, like you rattled off some of the stats, they all had pretty good games. The ball coming out of the hands of Anderson and Savoda are different.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you see them at different angles and sitting in different areas in the stadium, where maybe if you're behind the line of scrimmage and see it from behind them throwing, it looks different than what we've had, and the Wyoming's had in a long time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they come out more accurate. We've all seen a lot of Wyoming quarterbacks throw at the feet of people, especially on those, I guess, glorified screen passes, but out to the boundary area. And these are not like that. These passes are, if anything, they're high.
Yeah.
Or on the mark. And they're coming at you with some velocity, too.
Well, I think we're really seeing, Jared, that they're not spending as much time thinking as they used to. And I think they are getting the ball out. They know who their hot route is. And 9 times out of 10, that cat's open, or at least there for a jump ball, or at least there for a contested catch. And all we heard during the Craig Bowl era was our route trees are really difficult. Our quarterbacks are going to take snaps under center. They're going to be ready for the next level. And I would come at Craig with, I don't give a shit about the next level. Josh Allen's the only one at the next level. And yeah, no doubt, taking snaps under center and knowing a pro-style offense is, I'm sure if you asked him today, I'm sure he'd say, yeah, a lot of that really helped me. And I think we all agree that would have really helped Brett Smith to stay one additional year and get under center and do those kind of things.
If you had 10 Josh Allens.
Right. But isn't it about winning at Wyoming?
Yeah.
I mean, and I swear to you, I'm not dumping on Craig Bull. He is who he is. He stabilized the ship. He got it back to normal, and he stabilized it, and he did a great job. I am of firm belief Jay Sawvell is doing all the things that Craig didn't do that are going to help this team win even more. And it's something as stupid as a name on a jersey. You saw how excited those guys are. And even Sawvell said, this is not going to win or lose us games, a name on the back of the jersey. Alabama has them. Michigan has them. You still play for the team on the front. But your family's on your back. And that's who got you here. And that's, you take a lot of pride in that. And, I know some of the fuddy-duddy fans are still pissed about it, but you have somebody like Evan Svoboda and John Michael Gillenborg who are sitting on either side of me talking, and both of them said, I don't think I've never had my name on my jersey in my lifetime. I'm really excited about this.
And when I sit up in the stands, people are like, who is that? Who is that? Why don't they put names on their jersey? Do your homework before you come to the games. You should know the people just by their numbers.
Yeah, well, we certainly do.
Call yourself a fan? Come on.
It's even hard to see those bunched up numbers.
But it's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
For sure, for everybody to know who some of these players are. Maybe it helps NIL wise.
Yeah.
Maybe it helps all that. Definitely, I remember my scouting days, up in the box for Dave, looking to see who made the tackles and stuff like that. Through binoculars, it was even hard to tell who in the hell was who.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I just think morale-wise and, camaraderie-wise and loving the coach-wise, that's something that Craig was absolutely against. And I even joked with Sawvell, I said, tell me you've gotten a phone call from Craig Bull saying, what the hell have you done to my beloved program? And he joked about it and said, no, he did say, Craig asked me if he could come back and be a grad assistant, but I told him I'd have to think about it. So I just think he's doing the things Craig did, still hard-nosed practice, still double repping. Running game is still very much going to be a big part of this deal. So is defense. But he's physicality. He still has all those elements that made Craig Bull great, but now he's putting on other stuff. He knew the offense needed to change. He's been defending Wyoming's offense the last 4 years in practice. And I even asked him the other day, wouldn't it have helped against a team like Texas Tech, even though you guys won, and you did a very good job against them, especially in the second half, but if you're practicing against an offense that more resembles Texas Tech? Because think about it, Wyoming's pretty limited when it came to practicing against and getting a good look at what the other team's going to do.
Not only Texas Tech, but the majority of the teams in college football.
Yeah, Fresno State's of the world, the BYU's of the world. Yeah, absolutely. And he said, yeah, don't get it twisted. We're not trying to be like Texas Tech. But the more we look into it, Jared, maybe they do need to be more like Texas Tech. Because I know the Red Raiders had problems under center last year. Tyler Shuck got hurt real early on. But they had 470 passing attempts, 474 rushing attempts. Texas Tech, a high-flying, throw-it-all-over-the-yard team. Taj Brooks finished the year with 290 carries, 1,541 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. That's exactly what the Cowboys want to be. That's not even a good passing season for Texas Tech, and it was 1,000 more than Andrew Peasley threw for last year. And Andrew had a hell of a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is who you want to be like.
And I don't think it's probably on that stat sheet that you have pulled up, but they were running a play like every 12 seconds or something like that.
Yep.
Too.
Which is something the Cowboys now can do. Yep. And what I think is going to be different, though, is they can do that. Will they? They can also dial it back.
Well, the thing is, though, is you get up to the line of scrimmage and look like you're going to do that. You can still let the clock run.
Yeah.
But the defense can't make any substitutions.
And now with 15 seconds left, you have the headset on inside the helmet, which Evan Svoboda said has been a real game changer. He's like, man, I can sit up there and survey the defense. I have an OC sitting right there on the sideline who's saying, safety's coming, safety's creeping.
Yep.
He's coming on this blitz, hot route, boom. And then it cuts out with 15 seconds to go. And then on the flip side, these defensive guys, they're running the same stuff, and they're under Aaron Bull. Nothing has changed for those guys. So Shea Suino, I asked him about having the mic in his ear. He just kind of said, sometimes Aaron Bull has to just shoot a joke to me or something because it's just like, what are we doing with a headset?
Yep.
we don't really need it. But on the flip side, I mean, that's going to come in handy on that side of the ball too.
Especially on game days when you see different things.
Yeah.
Formation changes.
And Bull hasn't decided yet if he's going to be in the booth or on the sideline yet, but whoever's in the booth, they're really going to be able to see that stuff, and they're going to be able to relay it to Shea.
And even if he is on the sideline, which you kind of look back at some of Wyoming's more effective defensive coordinators, they've all been on the field.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic because a lot of times they're the eye in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as they have someone
they trust,
experienced, and somebody who's trust, like a Petrino,
yep,
is going to be up there. You know, somebody like that who has 20 years under his belt. You know, those kind of guys can rely on those guys to be that eye in the sky.
You wonder why Aaron Bull's the new defensive coordinator. That's where he sat, right up there next to us. So not a lot changing with the defense. The defense is way ahead of the offense. You want that to be the case this time of year, and it's going to be the case. They know this. They know this defense like the back of their hands, and almost all 11 guys are back on defense. You know, we talk thoughts, questions, concerns. There are a couple concerns. Tyrekus Davis has solidified himself as an outstanding corner. Savell, in fact, called him the best corner they had last year when he tore his MCL. You know, that's the only reason. Basically, I'm putting words in his mouth. That's the only reason Colby Taylor played. It was because of the MCL injury to Tyrekus Davis. Otherwise, it would have been him and Ja'Cory Hawkins. On the other side, though, who is it? Keone Parks is a guy they really like. He didn't really participate much this spring after having off-season shoulder surgery. He didn't play last year. He didn't play the position last year, and he moved over from running back as a true freshman and played a lot of special teams. Then you have Nas Hill also over there, and Ian Bell. Ian Bell's a guy that also suffered an injury late in spring, and he had a boot on his foot. I'm not sure what happened, but it doesn't sound long-term. Savell said, I just put a story out on 7220, they do not want to rely on a freshman to be number 3 on the depth chart.
Well, I think DJ Jones could just play both ways.
He could. He could. He's sweet, man. But they have some depth issues there. And then, of course, at offensive line, they really, really, really need Jake Davies and Nate Geigert to make strides during the summer. And what I found interesting in talking to Sebastian Harsh, I mean, the defensive ends have been having their way with the tackles. And they said Joe Tripodi, the offensive line coach, actually approached Sebastian Harsh and Devon Harris, said, will you please reach out to these offensive tackles during the offseason and go over film with them and basically share your secrets and bounce stuff off each other to really help the process of their maturation process, because Cowboys are going to need them. I know Craig Bull said numerous times in his tenure that we want to be able to believe in 8 guys on the offensive line. Right now, I think there's real belief in 4.5 to 5 of them. So
yeah, and
we have some holes.
And it's not time to panic yet because we know Barnett was out in the spring with his shoulder surgery.
Yep.
And Fia and Walsh really didn't play all that many snaps in those scrimmages or the spring game at all. So 3 solidified starters. Solid there.
Yeah, and we saw Luke Sandy played all 13 games last year. So did Wes King. They kind of shared spots. And you can kind of hide a guy almost at guard compared to leaving somebody on an island at tackle. They've also talked about, hey, we might be able to move Walsh. We can move Walsh out to tackle, and he'd do a damn good job, but they really, really like him at guard, and they want somebody else to step up. But, you know, in Tempe on August 31st, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see the bookends being Caden Barnett and Jack Walsh, and then you have Fia in the middle and Wes King and Luke Sandy playing guard. But you know as well as I do, Jared, those guys don't play every snap of the season.
Well, and there's still a chance that somebody that we don't even know yet comes in too.
Good. The portal does close on Wednesday.
You just don't know.
Yeah. You don't. And Alex Kahn, a guy they actually got in the portal out of Western Iowa, he was injured during the second scrimmage. He's another guy they were trying out there. I don't know the significance of his injury. I know that he was a Nebraska recruit. He spent 2 years in Lincoln, won a national title last year at Western Iowa. He could be a guy. I don't know, Rex Johnson got a lot of time last year. I believe he appeared in 7 games. So they do have some guys, and they have some guys with experience. It's just a matter of who. But they really mentioned Geiger and Davies a lot this offseason. They really want those guys, somebody to step up.
And they're your prototypical tackles, too.
Big dude.
6'7".
Yeah.
So
they need some meat. What, 6'7", 280 something?
Davies 6'7", 286. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Big kids. Same with Con. Con's a big kid, too.
6'5", 310.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're replacing Frank Crum. So, good luck. But they do need to figure that out. However, like you alluded to, this running back room is going to make up for a lot of ills, if there are any ills at the beginning of the season. They are really stacked.
And you look back leading into the 23 season, I think I probably said the same thing. This is about as deep as a running back room has ever seen. And then 2 of those guys are gone really before the season got going. And then now there's 4 guys on that, and a couple of those guys have already left because they know they're not going to get any playing time.
Yeah.
And did they leave on their own, or were they asked to leave? Who knows, and who cares?
But I would say it's
only one ball.
You're right. I'd say it's pretty safe to say Tyler Jacklish was asked to leave, for lack of a better term. He actually played. He's been in the portal for 2 weeks. He actually played in this game. And I asked Savell after, I'm like, was that really Jacklish or was somebody else wearing 30? And he said, no, that was him. I said, he's in the portal. He said, oh, we came up with a deal where I said, hey, you can get some tape. Plus, hey, let's be real, let a running back take a beating that's not a guy who's going to be on your squad this fall. And that's exactly what happened. And Jacklish, six carries, 32 yards. Happy trails to you, man. I saw the day before San Diego State gave him an offer. So, you see that the day before, and then, they're saying his name over the loudspeaker, and you're like, no, that's somebody else wearing 30. No way.
You think a certain pot-bellied, bald, red-nosed coach would have done that before?
No. We talked about it, though. Tyler Vanderwall did get to sit on the bench and go to that first Arizona Bowl, but the Cowboys had no one else. So Levi Williams, you remember, that was his first start. Levi goes down in that game. It's Tyler Vanderwall. There was no one else left.
Or a wide receiver.
He let him come on that trip, but you believe me, if they had 2 healthy quarterbacks on that trip.
Did he get a ring, you think?
He wouldn't have been there. I think so. I hope so. I hope so.
Where is he now? He's like on his 4th team?
Oh, they pulled up shop. They pulled up. He was at Northeast Louisiana or something like that. They quit last year in the middle of the season, and I can't remember why, but I think they had too many injuries, and they just folded up shop. So he really got left to his career just came to an end. So I know he posted some stuff on social. He was really sad about the whole situation. But
you heard that little beep in the background. Cody just got an alert from one of the fans.
yeah, always. That's why I have it on mute. But, a lot of people don't remember, Jared. Jamari Farrell was the starting running back for this team last year. And he's still here. Sam Scott, I would argue, is their most versatile running back. And I think he's really going to play the Swiss Army knife role, lining up at tight end, lining up at fullback, lining up at running back, maybe even receiver in the slot. He proved last year he could catch the ball downfield. I think he is a huge weapon and a guy that they're probably not going to – the defenses probably aren't even going to necessarily have their eye on until he does something crazy. DJ Jones, McNeely can take his time. He had a torn ACL last year. I'm sure that's why they didn't play him this spring. I think he could have played, but they just said forget it. And Harrison Whaley, we know what he can do. But like the offensive line, we've also seen under the Craig Bull era, because he uses these guys so much, none of those guys have gone through an entire year healthy.
And for the folks who haven't seen DJ Jones yet, he looks like Harrison Whaley.
A little bit,
as far as their body structure and how cut they are and stuff they look a lot alike.
That dude just glides, man. DJ does, and then also falling forward always. When he scored that touchdown from, I believe, 8 yards out, he had 10 guys on his back, and he carried them into the end zone.
And that is something that you have seen the Boise State running backs do.
Yeah.
They're always falling forward. Because their knees, it's not where it's where the ball is when their knees hit the ground.
Yep.
So if they're falling forward and they're laying on top of somebody, that's an extra yard.
Yeah, and I know
sometimes.
I know DQ James wasn't a big guy, but that was what was happening far too often with that guy. He was just not very big, and he did not fall forward. He always fell backward.
Backwards or sideways.
Yes,
yeah,
always.
And that extra yard can end up being a big thing towards the end of a game or end of a drive.
Huge.
So
that's something else that was kind of interesting. Speaking of getting a yard, I did a story earlier this spring. Is Wyoming going to still be conservative like they were under Craig Bull? They went for it on 4th down 9 times last year. The only other team that finished in that category in single digits was Alabama, who most times doesn't need to go for it on fourth down. It's kind of amazing they even went for it 9 times if you think about it. Jay kind of showed his card without saying it. This all started talking about John Hoyland and is John Hoyland back? And he goes, I'm not sure he left. We were asking him to go out there and boom 50-plus yarders all the time, and he said, I'd be on the sideline going, oh, it's 4th and 2 at the 37. I mean, we're going for this. And next thing you know, here comes John Hoyland. To me, that says if it's 4th and 2 on the 37, they're going for it, and they got a big quarterback who can get the job done.
Yeah, and a couple of those were in weather situations, too. It's like, really? You're going to try that?
I know.
Now the one, at a UNLV type of deal, yeah, I mean, you're indoors.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to preserve John a little more than to send him out there and expose him to a bunch of 55-yard attempts. So,
well, one guy we haven't even talked about yet, John Michael Gillenberg.
Yeah.
Wyoming has had some really, really good tight ends, and this guy is just different.
Yep.
And he runs his routes different. He glides out there. He's so smooth. And when the ball's coming to him, 9.5 out of 10 times he's going to catch it.
Yeah.
He just looks different. And
special guy.
You've talked to some of the defenders.
Yeah. Well, just think about Hawaii last year. He takes one 89 yards. Think about the tight ends that even have that capability of beating a secondary, because that was a 30-yard catch that he turned into an 89-yard touchdown as he ran away from Hawaii's secondary. Typically, your fastest guys are in your secondary.
Yep.
And they weren't close. So this kid is really special. Talked to both starting safeties, Isaac White and Wyatt Eckler, and I asked them how special this guy is, and I'll have a story about it this week. But just, I said, can you compare him to anyone?
Is it an investigative piece, or is it just
sure.
A tease there?
Sure, I did interview two guys for this story.
Just a tease.
I did interview 2 guys. I said, would you say he's like Trey McBride? And they both looked at me like I took a dump on the floor. Trey McBride's really good. He's a really big guy. He's doing really well in the NFL right now. They said he's better. Said, what about the Sanders kid at Texas who they really shut down? He didn't even get a catch in that game, and he was an All-American. Way better. Way better than him as well. And I'm like, are you saying this because he's your teammate and all that? And they said, no, this guy is making us better every day in practice because he's a nightmare. And they were like, dude, he's been a nightmare since he was on the scout team, but the guy only played 3 high school football games. So he was a total diamond in the rough. Craig Bowl knew a guy in Kansas City because of past relationships, and he said, take a look at this guy. I know he doesn't have any stats to speak of, although he did catch 4 or 5 touchdowns in those 3 games. He's totally a diamond in the rough. So when he got to Laramie, he didn't even know the terminology. He didn't know anything. So he was really raw. Once they believed in him, you saw that last blowout game at Fresno State to end the season in 2022. He caught 3 balls that day. That was the first chance he really got to get out there, and he made 3 catches in that game and was one of – I know it wasn't much. I think it was 3 catches for 22 yards or something like that. He was one of the bright spots on a really dim night. So he's really good. He's also roommates with Evan Swoboda. They look the exact same. Coach Savell said that they look like statues, and he thanks them every day for being here, as well as DJ Jones. He thanks him all the time for being here. They're special, special dudes.
Well, you look at their sizes. Gillenberg, 6'5", 245. Evan, 6'5", 245.
Yeah. Roommates. And Caden Barnett. I always am like, man, can you imagine what that grocery bill looks like?
6'5", 310.
That has got to be a grocery bill from hell.
I just noticed on, every roster's going to have a pronunciation guide. As 22 guys.
There's a lot.
Maybe 21, sorry. 21, but still. I mean, usually Wyoming would have 6, 7.
Yeah.
Utah and BYU have 40.
Yeah, Hawaii.
But
Shoe Green's the one that still trips me up. I don't know how you get Shoe Green out of SGORN.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, shoe green, like a shoe you wear.
Yep, like a shoe you wear. That's the way they put it on the pronunciation guide. They also follow Pokes in Stir at GoWyo.com. Just
Nick.
kidding, Ryan Thorburn. Just kidding.
Well, Nick's the one that typed that. Blame it on him.
By the way, here's the other huge difference between the Craig Bowl era and now. How about the social media they're doing, and how about Ryan and, I mean, what they're doing? It's incredible. It's doing nothing but helping getting the fan base fired up and getting a chance to know these guys.
Absolutely. It's more behind-the-scenes type stuff.
That's
and
good
there's going to even be more that we're hearing that's coming out.
Yeah.
Like would have never happened.
No,
before.
Savell has a microphone on his chest every day. Like, it's incredible. The last practice.
He gets Final Cut, though, I guess.
I don't even think he cares. He's awesome. The other day, we're sitting there waiting for for practice to end. Here comes some trainers. They're wheeling a mannequin down the ramp and out onto the field. I can't help but think, can you imagine wheeling a mannequin onto Craig Bowles' practice field during practice? They wheel it out there. It's covered in a trash bag.
Right now, so bad. I'm not going to.
This thing's covered in a trash bag, and they wheel it out onto the field, and there's 10 cameras around for a jersey unveil to show them their new uniforms with the brown pants and everything. And
do you like the script on the front?
No, that's the only part I don't.
I wish it was still block letters, too.
Yeah, other than that, I love it. I really love the brown pants, and I really love the mountains on the sides. Those really grew on me. Yeah, the script sucks.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah.
Small.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, if they had block, like the actual, what they have on their normal jerseys.
Well, when Jay comes over to Cheyenne, since he couldn't for the spring game, they're going to have that big outing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a beer with him and they'll say, Jay, come on.
Jay, there's still time to replace that. It is cool, though, to see the names on the back, but I just couldn't help but think, like, Craig Bowl would have thrown a wall-eyed fit if there was a camera out there, let alone a mannequin on wheels. It's changed, but to me, it's all changed for the better. And this isn't a dump on Craig Bullfest. Craig was who he was. This is, I think, somebody improving. And what Craig was trying to say, we need somebody younger to run this program, and we need a new voice. That's what this has been, man.
It's been to the times.
It's been so fresh. It's been refreshing. Every player's mentioned that, and they've all prefaced it by saying, hey, I have all the respect in the world for Craig Bowl, but this is like, we're tight, man. And Jay's in the weight room with us, and Craig had that CEO approach where he was in the office, and he let his coaches get to know players more so than himself. And Jay is down there. He's with the guys. He's one of the guys, and you can really tell, man. And like I said, the portal closes on Wednesday. Right now, you look at the portal, and definitely don't have the complete math on this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys are in the portal. We knew about DQ James. He's the only one who really has any stats. He still has nowhere to go. He's still homeless. Colby Taylor is at Vanderbilt. He was benched and in the doghouse hardcore last year. Brady Holtman, linebacker, he was a walk-on for Missouri. He signed with Missouri. He never saw the field. Caden Hawkins played a couple special teams plays. Chase Locke, who they got from USC, he's in the portal, nowhere to go. He never saw the field. Carson May never saw the field. Though, in his defense, he was ineligible last year. He was running the fourth-team offense this year during those open scrimmages. 4-star quarterback. He doesn't have a home yet. Josh Dixon, corner, doesn't have a home yet, didn't play. Tyler Jacklick, who we talked about, never played. He's in the portal. Keelan Cox, Alabama transfer. He got in the portal earlier, came back. Now he's back in the portal again because he's not going to play. Forrest Shield, offensive tackle. He's in the portal. He never saw the field, probably wasn't going to. Actually, it's 11. This Cuba Taiska, also offensive lineman, redshirt freshman from Norridge, Illinois. He's also in the portal. Never played, probably wasn't going to. So people forget.
And if these
coaches tell guys to leave, it's not a F Wyoming, the grass is greener that everybody likes to put. That's not the case, and it's not the case here at all.
So much different than what's going on in basketball.
Yes.
It's not even close.
Night and day.
And if some of these kids in football, if they truly have love for the game, they need to just go to a lesser conference or down a division and get on the field and play football, the game that they love.
Yep.
That's all there is.
And not
to
a damn thing wrong with that.
No.
But people go, what happened to the 4-star offensive lineman, Deshaun Woods? He couldn't see the field and he couldn't keep his grades up. Yep. And now where's Deshaun Woods? He's nowhere to be found. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Caden Becker, former quarterback. I just heard at the spring game that he is now in plumbing college. He was and there's nothing wrong with that. Not a damn thing wrong with that. But
learn a trade.
Yeah, but he was a quarterback. Then they moved him to defensive end. He said he was happy with defensive end. He entered the portal the very next day. He spent last year at Nebraska as a tight end, never saw the field, and now he's in plumbing college. just how it goes. I don't think it was a grass is greener situation. He wanted to play, and he wanted to play tight end, not defensive end, so he went and tried in his home state, and it didn't work out. But I'm so tired of seeing the grass is greener. Why can't these guys have any loyalty? They always forget that the coach can tell them to hit the bricks too.
Yep.
And Savell, he's not only doing that, he needs to cut scholarships. He's mentioned it 100 times. Not only does he need to cut scholarships, he's the type of cat who, if you work hard and you're just not cutting it, he's going to say, hey, this ain't for you. I need your scholarship, but I will help you find a place. Look at what he did for Tyler Jacklick. He let him play in the frickin' spring game.
Yeah, that would have never happened under another regime.
Under maybe no other regime.
Especially the day before where he goes, hey, I got an offer from San Diego State.
Yeah.
An in-conference school.
Yeah. Yeah. Who Wyoming happens to be playing this year. So, yeah, you can learn our playbook even more, and yeah, whatever. No, it's just cool. I can't think of any other regime, period, and that's not even a dump on Craig. I don't think any other regime is going to let that happen. They're going to go, see you, dude. I figured, as stupid as it sounds, Jared, and I might have mentioned this to you on Thursday, I didn't think it could be him because of maybe, like, insurance purposes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how this all works once ties are cut and your scholarship's gone.
The scholarship was still through the semester, though.
True, yeah.
So
and he might still be in school.
A couple weeks of school left.
True. But that's where my thoughts were going. Like, how is this even possible? So they're doing great in the transfer portal.
Well, they got the most out of him because he played in the spring game.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 weeks of school left, so he got his scholarship worth, and Wyoming got what they needed out of him for the semester. Whereas some of these guys, like February, they leave.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
and who Wyoming got in the transfer portal? DJ Jones, who accounted for more than 100 yards of total offense. Evan Eller from Virginia Military Institute, he had a really good game in this one. We don't have the full stats, of course, but he actually talked to the media after the game because he had such a good game. He appears to be a real sure tackler. Then you got TK King from Texas Tech. He caught 3 balls for 27 yards, and he's been dealing with an ankle. And you also got a guy you brought up, Jalen Beam. Does he look impressive or what? That kid looks really good.
Yeah.
And he's a kid from Garden City Community College who was a total under-the-radar guy. And he's, 6'4", 202 pounds, number 88?
Sorry, I was on the wrong side here. 6'4", 203.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks different out there.
Yeah, he does.
Because you're used to seeing, I don't know, more slender, taller wide receivers if they are that tall.
Yeah.
He looks different. He looks the part for sure.
He's a big kid. And he made a lot of plays. Another guy, too, Justin Stevenson, number 11, he ended up catching 5 balls for 56 yards. Jay Savell mentioned that Justin Stevenson's a guy who probably should have played last year. The grades weren't great, and he basically got challenged. Now his grades are awesome. Apparently he's a 3 or 3.5 guy or something like that, and he's doing great. Focuses on the field, focuses in the classroom, and it's showing off. He's been talked about in almost every press conference this spring. So that's another really good receiver to go along with the Alex Brown and Will Pellissier. Lot of new, and Devin Body Jr., a lot of young dudes here. Caden Lafron boys, if he can crack the field this year and see it, the Gillette kid, he caught a long touchdown pass, 47-yard touchdown pass from Evan Svoboda to win the game. It was a beautiful pass, beautiful catch. He beat the defense. I think they got, to me, Jared, they have more weapons than they ever have in the times I've been covering them, and dare I say since since 2016. They have a ton of weapons. They have a really good backfield. I think, worried about offensive line depth? Sure. The starting 5, not so much.
So you're saying 12-0?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Mark it down.
You heard it here,
Place
guys.
Your bets.
4:29:24 at 2:20 in the afternoon.
I did see a reporter, in quotes, give his predictions on the season, which is insane because the transfer portal's still open. 4-8 for the Wyoming Cowboys. I can't even fathom.
A local reporter?
No.
Oh.
No, a Mountain West reporter, allegedly. 4-8. And I actually wrote the guy, which, I mean, when I saw 4-8, I was just like, you're not doing any homework here. You've done zero homework. And I wrote him and talked to him, and after we talked, he goes, yeah, I guess I could probably see 8-9 wins. I go, wow. From 4 to 9, just like that, huh? Wow. Pretty incredible.
Hopefully this guy doesn't have any accreditation with any of the national, the magazines that come out, because sometimes they rely on the locals to write some of those spots. So.
Well, it kind of reminds me, too, look how quick we were to shit on the guy, the dumbass last year at Mountain West Media Days who picked UNLV to win the conference, and then they make it to the conference title game and lose. And we were all like, man, I even talked to Javen with the Mountain West, and I said, I don't know who the hell had that vote, but, like, dude, you got to revoke some of these clowns. Like, that's a joke. And we were all joking with him, and he goes, yeah, pretty bad. And what do we know?
Well, there you go.
What do we know? The Rebels end up kicking ass. So it'll be interesting, man. The portal, too, has been doing a number on our really good friends over in Logan, Utah. They're getting absolutely hammered by the portal right now. CSU is not having a great time in the portal right now. Bronco Mendenhall down at New Mexico, I think what he's dealing with is a lot like what Craig dealt with when he got here without a transfer portal.
Weeding
and saying, you're not cutting it, dude. And Craig didn't have the portal to rely on back then. He just said, hey, we got to weed out the weak. And you saw it. It counted to 6 wins. 6 wins in 2 years.
And the scary thing is, if he did, there might have been some guys that actually did leave anyway, like a Brian Hill.
True.
Guys like that.
Very true. It could have been worse, I guess, if you think about it that way. Thanks for dumping water on that. It's true, though.
Always have to bring in our friend Brian.
The other position that is in question, and I'm sure you saw it firsthand, the punting game was not great.
You know, where we were sitting at first, I was like, there has got to be wind up there. When you see those punts, they were up, hit a wall, came straight down.
Yep, they did.
Like 3 or 4 times in a row. I said, there's got to be wind above that we're not seeing.
Yeah.
And they said, well, it's even worse on the field. So
it was a rough day.
Yeah. But, and it just seemed like they were always punting from the south to the north.
Yep, they were.
That hitting that wall of wind. But yeah, those were not pretty at all. And there are some rumors, I guess, that there's a graduate coming in.
Yeah, so first of all, Keelan Anderson and Eric Sandvik were the punters on Thursday. Those two are also place kickers, and I would argue mainly place kickers. They're here behind John Hoyland.
Not everybody can be a Sean Fleming.
Yeah, no, not many, as you've seen over the years. Not many have that ability. But Keelan Anderson, 5 punts, averaged 28 yards a punt. His long was 33. Eric Sandvik, 3 punts, averaged 40. His long was 46. Not a good day in that department. However, Jay Savell was quoted a couple weeks ago saying, we had a punter in on a visit this past weekend. It's a very good possibility that that's the direction we go. That's about as much as I can say about it right now. I saw the guy on the sideline. By the way, he looks like he could move in with Svoboda and John Michael Gillenborg and Barnett any moment. His name is Jack Culbreth from the Virginia Military Institute. He was a 2-time All-American. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. Yeah, 2-time All-American, 3 times he claimed first-team honors in SoCon, the Southern Conference. He's a graduate transfer. He was the FCS National Special Teams Player of the Year or Player of the Week last September. He placed 5 of 9 punts inside the 20-yard line and had a long of 60 in a 17-14 win over Wofford. He sounds like a hell of a weapon, and that would immediately, I think, in a lot of ways, make that worry go to bed. So I think, and I don't see why he wouldn't be coming. I mean, last we knew he was coming. He was on the sideline the whole 9, so they just haven't announced it yet. But I think they're good there. Once they get Ian Bell healthy and Keone Parks healthy, those guys are really going to battle it out at the corner spot. Coach even mentioned Caleb Merritt, who he moved last week, moved from wide receiver to D-back. And I talked to Caleb about it. He was really excited. And he said, hey, I know what all those guys are doing. I've been a wide receiver in this program for 3 years. I know what those guys want to do. Yep. So I feel really confident. And he did get called for a PI in the spring game, but it sure looked like some feet got tangled up. It didn't look like a all-out PI. And it was on Alex Brown. So it looked good to me. But, there's some spots. There's some spots that are a little worrisome depth-wise. But, think about it, too. You got Rook Brown back there, who's now going to be basically almost a 3-year starter. And you have Wyatt Eckler and Isaac White back there, too, who are fully entrenched starters. And you have Shea Suinoa roaming around too in the middle. So I think he's going to be really special too. I think he's going to have a huge year. I wouldn't be the least, if he's healthy, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he had the same numbers, if not better than Easton Gibbs. He's just a really talented athlete.
So what that equates to is Cody's revoking his 12-0, and he's going to say 11-1.
But I wouldn't dare tell you who the one loss is to. I don't know. It is a tough schedule, but would you be kind of like last year when we talked about Texas Tech? Would you fall out of your chair if the Wyoming Cowboys went down and beat the Arizona State Sun Devils?
ASU, I even have a good buddy down there. He goes, ASU is so bad right now. I would not be surprised if you guys came in here and whooped us. Not just beat, but whooped us.
Yeah. And they have talent, but I saw their coach just turned 34 years old yesterday. That's incredible.
Yep.
Truly incredible.
But who knows what's going to happen? That's a long ways off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you look at the non-conference schedule, I honestly am more afraid of the at North Texas game than the BYU home game.
I would be. I'd be with you on that because that has trap game written all over it, and maybe it still does. But they lost a ton to the portal. Granted, when you're in Denton, right there in the Metroplex, you can replenish
with the portal very easily, just with Texas transfers.
Sure, yeah, no doubt about it. But they lost a ton. I really feel for Idaho, who's coming in week 2. They lost every stud they have. I mean, just across the board. And you'd think that it's a little harder to replenish the roster in Moscow, Idaho, than it is in Denton, Texas. So, I'm with you. BYU does not, for the first time maybe in either of our lifetimes, is looking for a quarterback. That's bizarre. They don't have a quarterback right now. They're coming off a terrible year. They didn't even make bowl eligibility last year. So they had a really rough go of it in their first year in the Big 12, and now they don't have a quarterback. And tell me that fan turnout in Laramie is not going to be, dare I say, violent? Would be almost a good word for it. That's the last time the BYU Cougars are ever going to be in Laramie, Wyoming in football. Ever.
Yeah.
Mark it down.
Yep.
They're never coming back, ever.
Until they're relegated.
Yeah. They're done with Wyoming.
But there's a chance, you look at how the schedule lays out now, that Air Force is right after pretty much that game.
Yeah.
And it's homecoming for Air Force.
For us. Yeah. For
Wyoming. For Wyoming against Air Force.
Yeah.
So there's a chance back-to-back games of 28,000+. Maybe they're sellouts.
Yeah.
But definitely 28,000+.
And if Wyoming goes and beats Arizona State on the road, wouldn't be surprised. Idaho was the biggest crowd in 2019 after that win over Missouri.
Yep.
So wouldn't be surprised. I think there's going to be great crowds this year. You can definitely mark this down. There's no way in hell this is a 4-win team. Like, not a shot in hell. Like, sorry to burst that dude's bubble.
There could be 4 wins before the end of September.
Yeah, and honestly, there should be. I have no problem right now telling you, Jared, they should not lose to Arizona State. They should not. And that's going in with a new coach and a new quarterback. There's no way in hell they should lose that game. They're loaded on defense. Arizona State is terrible.
Evan's mom was scouting down there during the ASU game.
Yeah. Can you imagine the crowd Evan Sabota's going to have down there?
That'd be fun.
His entire
she was
high
looking at suites.
I saw that.
Yeah. And I have a friend who used to play here at Wyoming. He's down there. He's got a suite secured for us right now. So,
nice.
Actually, the tickets aren't that bad because you're probably going to pay $75 to $80 for an outdoor seat anyway. So you pay a little bit more, and I was like, the AC is worth it.
The AC, yeah.
I don't care if there's booze or food included or not. I'll get my own booze and food, but the AC's included. So,
didn't you run into Evan Sabota's sister at the Waste Management?
Yeah, she saw I had a koozie in the bottom of my wife's clear bag.
Yeah,
and it was Wyoming colors. It was the WYAF.
Yeah.
And it had the Wyoming colors. So she came up, tapped me on, and she goes, "You guys from Wyoming?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, I'm Evan Sabota's sister."
That's awesome.
Took that koozie out, gave it to her, and then her mom and I, or the mom and I, converse every once in a while on Instagram type stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they seem like a really nice family.
Yeah. They wear their Wyoming stuff everywhere. Like they're huge Cubs fans.
Yeah.
So they were at all the spring training games, and somebody had a Wyoming something on in every picture almost.
Oh, awesome.
And stuff like that. So
that's great. Before we wrap up here, the NFL draft coming on. No Cowboys for
Wasn't
the second
surprised.
straight year. No. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Frank got drafted too. He didn't. Frank Crum instead signs a pretty lucrative deal with the Denver Broncos, according to reports. And he's right down the road in Denver. So good for him.
And he knows he still has to go earn it, though. Nothing's given, even if you sign a contract.
No doubt.
You still got to go earn your spot.
I think that's a really good landing spot for him as far as what they have and the whole nine and the growing that they need to do and all that stuff. I think it's great.
But if there was a blitz coming on the outside, Zach Wilson's behind you. Do you Olay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, always.
Good choice.
Did you see, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe only 4 Mountain West guys were picked in general in this draft. Mo Camara from CSU being one of them, which Frank Crum told me Mo Camara was a bitch. A total, not a bitch, but a bitch to handle.
In a mean, tough way.
Good way, yeah. Like he was hard to handle.
Yep.
Frank mentioned that Texas and Texas Tech, pretty relatively easy days at the office, which is shocking to hear. Air Force and Mo Camara were a nightmare.
And then Solomon Byrd got taken, the former Cowboy that was at USC, got taken in the 6th or 7th round.
Yep, going to the Texans. Yep.
And who was
I don't know who the other Mountain West guys were. There was a safety at Oregon who started his career at Fresno State.
But think about it. No Boise State.
No.
I mean that.
Nope.
Think about all those guys they're supposed to have.
Yeah.
Not one
George
got
Alani,
drafted.
nothing. How about you mentioned Dallin Holker?
Yeah, the tight end that was started at
From
BYU,
CSU?
then he was
Yeah.
at CSU, undrafted free agent.
I thought that kid was a shoe-in to get drafted. I mean, we talked about it before we came on the air. He might have been better than Trey McBride. Imagine 4 years of him in Fort Collins would have been a nightmare. 4 years with both of them back-to-back, that would have really sucked.
And conspiracy theorist in me, but is this the start of big boy football ignoring the G5 and smaller schools? Because you look at that, I mean, I paid attention because I saw South Dakota State and South Dakota roll across there. 4 guys from the Missouri Valley got taken.
Uh-huh.
That's 2 more than the Mountain West.
Yeah.
But, and it's kind of going against what I just said, but at the same time, through the first 3 rounds, I think there was only 2 non-Power 5 guys were taken out of the first 3 rounds.
I'd be curious to know how many of those guys were Power 5 to start their career.
True.
Which may be none, but I don't know. I didn't pay that close of attention to it. But,
true.
But I know, like, the Oregon safety. I mean, he started at Fresno State.
Yep.
And he was I think, 3rd rounder.
And that definitely has an effect on what you see, because they're only going to say the school that they were last at. But I think ESPN at least did a pretty good job of showing, like, they showed a Hawaii guy. They showed him like 2 plays in a Hawaii uniform, then 2 plays in another uniform. So maybe that's the other guy you were thinking of.
Yeah, maybe player. So. Yeah.
But they did show them where they were before. But you think about the Wyoming guys, other than Solomon Byrd, that had transferred, the CJ Coldens, and I'm missing a linebacker, I think, that went to P5.
Yeah, Missouri.
But those guys didn't get taken.
No. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, too, I was on a show out of Rapid City the other day, and he was bringing up the whole scenario of the big boys breaking off on their own, and should the G5 teams have their own playoff and all that kind of stuff. I've been talking about it for years that they should break off. However, you don't want a full-on split, in my opinion. You still want to play BYU this year. You still want to play Texas last year, because hell, we've seen Wyoming win some of those. Not to mention the payday that comes with it. And Nick Saban's been on the record numerous times saying, when the SEC plays their cupcake game with like 3 weeks remaining in the regular season, not only do they need that to rest up, which he won't say, but they need that to rest up. But they know that when they give that check to Samford, that is going to pay their entire athletic department bill for the entire year.
Yep.
We saw Portland State come in here last year. They got their asses completely kicked off in Eugene. Then they came to Laramie. Somebody asked their coach, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "You kidding me? This pays for everything. It pays for volleyball. It pays for basketball. It pays for everything."
Yep.
And I don't think the big dogs I don't think they have a problem with that, paying these guys to know that they're doing well, not to mention they win that game 9 times out of 10.
But at the same time, they're all about the money, and they want to keep as much money because that's why they're doing what they're doing.
So when do you say goodbye to Indiana, Vanderbilt, Rutgers? When do they break off even from those cats and say, dude, what are you bringing to us? Because you can say with Vanderbilt especially, you can say they keep the grade point average up for the SEC and they're in Nashville. Apparently we don't give a damn about grades these days, so grade point average shit's out the window. Nashville's owned by the Tennessee Volunteers. It's not owned by Vanderbilt.
I think what you hear, the rumblings about relegation, I think it's real.
I do too.
5 years down the road.
Hell yes.
I think you have to get through one more. I know contracts are meant to be broken, but I think you get through one TV contract under the new playoff deal, and then I think you see relegation.
Well, and that's where you don't want to cut off, in my opinion, from the big guys, because if you are the number one G5 team, you won in the dance.
Yeah.
Money purposes, plus what did we see Utah and Boise State do when they got in these positions? They didn't win a playoff per se, but they knocked off some, because some teams they don't want to be there. They don't want to play in the Sugar Bowl. Some teams are national championship or bust.
And football really doesn't listen to anybody besides themselves.
No, hell no.
I mean,
TV.
Yes, they're under the NCAA governance of rules, but the bowls run the show.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different than basketball, to where the NCAA owns the NCAA tournament.
So think about all the G5 teams that fill up these bowl games. What if they say, see ya, and they say, we're starting our own playoff, which I would love. Because I was asked, that could give Wyoming a chance to win a national championship. Yeah, that's great, because that's not something we walk in any season thinking about.
Or you go through those playoffs, and maybe it's the top two teams get into the next level up.
I just wonder if enough you know what I mean?
You'd have to.
It would have to be a ton of weeks.
The NFL's already talking about moving the Super Bowl, going to 18 games. That's another week.
Pretty much getting rid of preseason.
2 preseason games, and then the Super Bowl's over President's Day weekend, so you have that holiday on Monday.
Oh, boy. Why didn't they think of that 100 years ago?
But at the same time, how many people really sit at home and drink the entire Super Bowl and I don't know, I've got a pretty bad hangover, I can't go to work on Monday. Cody. But no, I just don't think, unless your team's in the Super Bowl, I get
even drunker when my team's not in the Super Bowl because I don't care.
It's been a long time since I've had more than one cocktail during a Super Bowl.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
I don't either, but it can be fun depending on where you're at. And then if it's, nobody's really pulling for anybody, you kind of throw some bets down and drink a lot. But I kind of like I don't think that these teams should be afraid of the relegation. Can you imagine? Not relegation, but having their own tournament, because.
Well, I think it would be fun, though.
It'd be a blast.
Because you are like an Indiana, a Vanderbilt, an ASU this last year.
Yeah, Northwestern, teams like that.
They get moved out.
Yeah.
And then you have a Fresno State, a Boise State, North Texas, Coastal Carolina, or Liberty, whatever it may be. They move into those spots for 1 year. The only thing I don't like about it is you need more than 1 year for that to pay off.
But if you even move in for 1 year, how does that affect your schedule? You're still playing Mountain West games?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that has to be worked out.
And games are already, for the future, already planned out.
But how that only 1 year really helps you. I think you have to be relegated for a 4-year span, because I think it has to be on 4-year rotations, because you need it for recruiting. You need it for everything to kind of germinate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But tell me ESPN wouldn't jump. I don't watch the FCS. Full disclosure. I'll watch the playoffs, and I'll watch the championship game. Yep. Tell me ESPN wouldn't jump at the fact if you're running a 16-team, and do it right. Say you're running a 16-team G5 playoff. Be pretty damn fun.
It would be fun.
But I don't ever want to miss those games against – I don't want a full-on split ever. I want that game. I want to play that. And plus, think about if you had a full-on split, how many guys are really going to leave in the portal if they have a chance? They're going to be like, yeah, I'm out of here. Yep. And I'm not thinking twice. I'm out of here.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, but I think there are some positives. I don't think it's anything to be scared about. You can go, oh, hell yeah. Could you imagine? This guy was asking me, do you ever go into a season thinking about, Wyoming has a shot at winning a national title this year? And I said, literally never. And anybody who thinks that way is insane. You think, win your conference, have a really special season and go undefeated and find a way to crash that party.
if you find a way to win a game, let alone 2, 3 in a playoff, holy shit.
The goal right now is to win the conference
Yes.
and to get a New Year's Day game.
No doubt.
That's all there is
Yeah.
that Wyoming can do.
Yeah.
But with the true playoffs thing they have, system they have now, I mean, yeah,
Technically.
yeah, you would get into that last spot, but you're gonna if you were to win your first round game, you're going against number 1.
Yeah.
Because number 1 and number 2, I believe, as it sits right now, would have a bye.
Sure.
But
You
you're
take
still gonna take on number 4.
Yep. And you're going to take it,
Yeah.
though. And it's going to be
absolutely.
awesome and
how
lucrative
much-
and fun.
If you look back at the Fiesta Bowl when Boise State beat Oklahoma,
Yeah.
that could have easily been an 8-1 game
For sure.
in a
sure.
playoff situation.
Yeah, and it could also turn into you don't want to play that team, especially a tricky ass team like that. You don't want to play that team.
I mean, a lot of what ifs, but
But even the NCAA tournament allows you to dream. And I mean, shit, you were old enough to remember, but what, 87, 88, Wyoming's on the cover as a potential team that could go all the way that year.
Yep.
You can't ever say that with football. But now, theoretically, you can say that.
before I go, I want a Sweet 16. And I want a New Year's Day Bowl.
Yeah, before I go. I want a Sabre Stanley Cup
And
and
folks,
those
I'm
2
52,
things.
so do the math.
I want a Sabre Stanley Cup and the 2 things you just mentioned, if that's not too much to ask, Lord.
Do we dare talk about
Yeah,
what you're going to bring up?
Yeah, let me run down these real quick though. Ira Asante, wide receiver, he is signed with the Giants. Frank Crum, of course, Denver. Easton Gibbs with the Seattle Seahawks. Trayton Welch with the Cleveland Browns. 2 other former players, Andrew Peasley and defensive tackle Cole Goodbow, are getting mini camp invites. Peasley, New York Jets, first reported by Alex Taylor from Wyo Sports. And then Kansas City and Tennessee, Goodbow has a chance to try out with both of those teams. So that's the extent so far. No Ja'Cory Hawkins, I guess, would be the only quote-unquote surprise. Still, the day is young. The week is young. He could get a call. I'm actually a little shocked. I don't think he ran to his full potential at Pro Day. He is a 4.2 kind of guy. So I don't think he hit 4.2 in front of the pros, though, that day. So were you afraid I was going to bring up basketball?
Yeah.
Well, I got good news for you. Go to 7220 to read all about these guys because I can't pronounce their names. I even asked Linder the other day when I saw him.
Can he pronounce them?
No. I said, can you get maybe a Dave Johnson or a Don Smith or something like that? The new guy's name is, I think, Tuukko Tainamo, and he is from Finland, 6'9", 220-pound forward from Helsinki, Finland. 1 year. He has 1 year. So does Obi Agbum from Fort Lewis, 1 year. Tyree Iannacho from North Dakota, 1 year. And Matja Bellick, I think, USC Santa Barbara, he has 2 years. So the Cowboys have 4 guys. I believe, from all I'm hearing, Kenny Foster is not coming back. So they should still have two full scholarships available to hand out here before the season. So they do have 4 guys coming in from high school. It's just, you can't help but think, Jared, we just talked to, Tom Berman, 3 weeks ago, and he said, we cannot survive on these one-and-done guys. We cannot do one-and-done guys. They don't build any relationship. Wyoming fans want to see these guys grow up. These guys are taking a majority of online classes. They're not hanging out on campus. They're not getting to know people. And Jeff Linder has secured 3 one-and-done guys, the same number of one-and-done guys he found last offseason. So maybe you can speak to this because you've kind of been on the inside before. How much does Berman meddle in this? Does he go to Jeff and say, hey, we can't have one-and-done dudes. What are we doing here? You're telling me there's nobody else out there?
I would say there's definitely conversations going on. Is he going to let him do his job? Yes.
Yeah.
He's not a micromanager.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he can express his concerns.
I think he did that, and publicly. So he said it privately before, and then he said it publicly, and now it's 3 more. Are there no other dudes? And I know what Jeff would say, NIL. That's all he would say.
Well,
3 letters, NIL.
Losing Cam to what you would think would be a
You would think.
step down, going to Drake. But he did follow his coach that recruited him to Wyoming.
Well, and I did get a message today from a very trusted source. He said they have $500,000 to play with at Drake.
But they don't have Division I football.
Exactly.
So it's a different situation going to a basketball school like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we heard the numbers that were offered saying, Cam, you can have this year through our NIL, but you have a chance to earn more if you want to, but here's what we're going to guarantee you.
Yeah.
And then one more year of development, then go make that money.
Well, from what I heard, that was Wyoming's pitch. Mm-hmm. Stay here one more year, really see who you are as a basketball player. You have the keys. You're the focal point of our offense. Go do it.
You know what? At this point, though, I got a message yesterday about it, and I'm like, I really don't care. He's gone. He was gone. As long as he didn't go to that team down south that he took a visit to,
that's it.
I am fine now.
That's it.
If he would have went to that team in the green down south,
that's it.
I would have been pissed off. And things, if it gets to the point where this intra-conference transferring is still going on, and there's a player that is so much hated by the team that he left, and he goes to a rival, and something happens on the court, or somebody throws something, that's where they're going to have to look themselves in the eyes like, what are we doing here? We're allowing intra-conference without a penalty?
Yeah. Well, think about Xavier Ducel's on his third team.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's...
How about all those guys who left last year that are leaving again?
And they're allowed to.
I know.
Which is just...
And Marcus Williams started this whole mess by going to Texas A&M and then going to San Francisco. And then from all accounts, he wanted to come back here. And how you say no to that, I have no idea, unless he wants NIL that Wyoming doesn't have. He's still at San Francisco.
Okay.
But he could go again. This is insane.
It is.
It's killing basketball so badly. It really, I mean, like you said earlier, football is so much different, but Tom Berman warned it's coming. It's coming for football too. That's where, in my opinion, and this is not necessarily dumping on Jeff Linder, that's where this was the right hire to get Jay Sawvell more than anything. Because can you imagine how hard it would be to go up to Jay Sawvell and go, hey, man, I'm leaving for, let's say, like a Drake situation. Like, hey, I'm leaving for New Mexico State, say. Nobody's coming up to Jay Sawvell and saying that.
But if Jay wasn't the hire, it would have been a revolving door.
It would have been, and then if they hired another guy who wasn't an ultimate players coach, to me right now, players coaches are so important. And these guys are even leaving players coaches. We've seen, because I would say Nico Medved's a players coach.
Well, and you're seeing people are leaving college athletics.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with this stuff.
It's
there
sad,
are ADs, there are commissioners,
coaches.
There are coaches, there are presidents that are retiring probably 5 to 10 years earlier than they would have. They're just done with it. They don't want to deal with it anymore.
When and how does somebody get the reins back to this thing? Does it have to be the government?
They're saying Congress has to get involved, and I don't know if that's the right answer or not either. But maybe it has to be a true law.
Yeah, that encompasses all 50 states.
It's sickening.
Holy cow, dude. It's brutal. And, I get so sick of the fans talking about loyalty and all that. But, I mean, they're not wrong. They're not wrong in a lot of cases. Cam Manio, they're not wrong. But, it is what it is, and it's not going anywhere until somebody fixes it. And imagine these hardcore political people when they see that Congress is battling over college football and college basketball. Then they're going to really flip out.
I guess I got caught up in Cam. Did Kobe find a place to go yet?
Kobe's here.
No, Cade.
Oh, no, Cale Combs.
Yeah,
not yet.
Geez,
not yet.
Can't even get that.
See, you didn't even know. I mean, but that's...
Yeah, I couldn't remember. If
but that's a perfect example.
And you kind of thought they might be a package deal because they're buddies and everything, but...
And that coach at Drake is the one who
brought both of them. Yeah.
But that, in a nutshell, is perfect. You don't even know the kid's name.
Yeah.
And he could have literally been the second best player on Wyoming's basketball team next year. But nobody's getting to know these guys, and they have nightmare names now. So I say that arguably plays a part too. You got guys with nightmare names. You got guys that are only going to be here 1 year. You know that next year it's going to be a whole new team again already. So it is frustrating as hell. I get it, man. I want Wyoming basketball to be awesome like it used to be because I've said it often, and I'm sure you agree with me. That game against Utah in Laramie for the championship was top 3 atmospheres in any sport I've ever been to in my life, and it's not even particularly close. It was unbelievably special. And now that place is a place you don't want to go. It's a morgue. You don't want to go there, and I don't blame people that don't. I don't, but what's the fix? I mean, coach says NIL, but on the flip side, who the hell's going to give these guys money when they don't trust them? And think about this, too. The return on investment for people giving in the NIL has sucked almost across the board, not just Wyoming.
Well, and it's got to be a situation where it's a business that it makes sense that, and I'll use this as an example. Taco Dowler at Montana State, just because he has some Wyoming ties. How he does not have a Taco John's NIL deal is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The marketing people at Taco John's shouldn't even have waited one day.
I know.
To reach out.
And the kid's good.
Let alone them probably trying to do a deal with Taco John's.
I just wrote about it last week. How about Devon Harris, who works at Jersey Mike's? He also wears rec specs. Nobody else wears rec specs. Yeah. Why is Laramie Vision Clinic or what? I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah. They're owned by Cheyenne Vision.
Okay, what the hell are we doing? You know, and I even wrote that in there. Get the kid an NIL deal, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he works a job. Who's the last time you ever heard it? When's the last time, aside from the
basketball? During the season.
Yeah, especially the basketball. All I can think of is the basketball guys that are down here working for Maury Brown during the off seasons. Yep. That's the only time I can think of a guy having a job. And I'm naive to that, so I don't know. Maybe there's other guys who have jobs.
Well, Nick Talich.
Yeah, but I mean, he works at Jersey Mike's. Yep. So it makes way too much sense to us. But I don't know, man. We can sit here and bitch about it till the cows come home, but the cows will eventually be home and we'll still be bitching. So, but the good news is football. I mean, yeah, portal closes on Wednesday. I don't expect anything crazy. I didn't expect anything crazy in the first place. I really didn't. I mean, I guess you could say what are some positions that are completely loaded? Running back, defensive tackle, but they rotate so much.
And when you look at it, wide receiver. They have a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, a lot of wide receivers. But I think a lot of wide receivers that love being here. Alex Brown's already been here 5 years, so why the hell would you do? I mean, I guess I wouldn't totally be stunned if Alex Brown – however, you know what? I take that back. I would be stunned because you remember what Jay Salvell said. I'm Alex Brown's biggest fan, and I'm going to tell him every day how much I appreciate him. And you imagine what that does for Alex? He has to feel on top of the world. That's stuff he hasn't heard. And we talked off the record this year. That's stuff he did not hear the last couple of years.
And when you're that far along in your career, too, your education is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like finishing out. Maybe it's working on your second degree. Whatever it may be in a situation like this with Alex.
Well, and some guys don't think about this, Jared. Like, Hunter Maldonado can come back here anytime he wants. He ain't paying for a beer. He can come back here and wave to the crowd. He can be invited to every tailgate under the sun. He's a Wyoming Cowboy for life. And I don't know if any of these other guys think about that kind of stuff. Think about this. I'm not 100% on this, Jared. You might know, but I would be willing to bet every Wyoming team in history that's made the NCAA tournament is in the Wyoming Athletics Hall of Fame. Would the team from a couple years ago be in the Wyoming Athletics Hall of Fame? Can you imagine in 10 years them or 20 years, say, them coming, here's Graham Ike and Xavier Dussel,
no,
and people go, oh, we haven't forgotten.
Most of the teams that are in the Hall of Fame that are NCAA tournament teams are also conference champions.
Sure. But that team's not getting invited back. Not at all. Hunter and Hunter will be invited back. That's it. Other than that, well, Kenny Foster.
It's sad to say that I don't even see Hunter Maldonado as a Hall of Famer either. And it's sad to say, but the stats say he should be, but it took him 6 years to accumulate those stats.
Well, plus he played on the best team we've seen in a long time and some of the worst teams we've seen ever. So, I don't know. It's going to be weird going forward, man. And I know, like, for instance, people talk about, like, Xavier Valladay. He's a Wyoming Cowboy. He played here for 4 years. You know, he went on. I didn't see anybody bitching about Ayer Asante leaving Holy Cross after 4 years to come to Wyoming for a year. Yep. And I guarantee Holy Cross is excited that Ayer Asante is going to the NFL. Just like Wyoming fans should be for Xavier Valladay.
Yep.
It's just going to be the way of the world now. Are you as excited for Solomon Byrd? No. because he played multiple years at USC, and he left because everybody was jumping ship.
Especially anybody who got their degree.
Yeah, and maybe Bird did. I don't know. But either way, he left when everybody was jumping ship.
I wish Solomon Bird all the best.
Me too.
Hopefully he does make a living because he's got a wife and a kid to take care of.
Yeah, no doubt. He was great. I loved Solomon. I'm happy for him as well. But, I mean, there's some guys, it's all about, like, can you claim this guy anymore? If you see Xavier Valladay on Monday Night Football, is he going to say Arizona State?
Well, and I think that's why you saw, especially the ESPN draft coverage, they did make sure to say where they started.
Yeah. And we're going to see that a lot. We're going to see it a lot.
And you might even see Iowa/Wyoming or whatever it is on a lot of score bugs when they show the players, just so people know, like, oh, that is that kid that came from Iowa and now he's at Wyoming or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's a really bad analogy.
I know.
I don't want any offensive anything.
Punter would be the only one that I would want. Oh, maybe the safety.
And the punter got drafted in the 4th round.
Well, and then did you see Caleb Williams? He goes, hey, you're not going to punt that much here. Yeah, you're with the Chicago Bears. You're going to be punting a lot.
Yes, you
I don't care who your quarterback is.
He's a hell of a weapon. Awesome. All right, well, summer is here.
Around the corner.
It's here for us. There's nothing going on right now, really. Going to have a ton of Wyoming coverage. As you can see my list here, I still have a ton of stuff to write from the spring. We'll continue to do that. We're also going to do some fun summer, like list type situations, like who we think's the best of this and that and this. So you can bitch and argue and hopefully read them. And
all comments at 7220 Sports.
Yeah, and all comments welcome. I know it's going to be the good stuff that'll ruffle some feathers, but also hopefully get us through. The other beauty is Mountain West Media Days is June 10th and 11th now in Las Vegas. Or July, I'm sorry. Yeah, July 10th and 11th. So it's about 3 weeks earlier than normal. So that's great. And I assume they wanted to piggyback off the fact the Big 12's in town as well during that week.
And maybe the never mind. There's no Pac-12.
Maybe Oregon State. I wonder if Oregon State and Wazoo will be at Mountain West Media
Now there
Days.
is a Las Vegas Bowl's doing a kickoff classic out there. It's USC against
LSU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So they're kind of like what the Chick-fil-A Bowl still does. They do a kickoff classic.
Yeah.
In Atlanta type of deal. So.
Yeah. No, that'll be cool. I'm excited. That means the season gets here earlier, and we're talking about the season earlier. And then, of course, they have the 25 practices through August and play August 31st. They do have 2 off weeks this year, too, 2 bye weeks. So
going back to last week, what was accomplished at football practice on Friday?
They were going to focus a little bit on Air Force, basically walk through. They didn't wear pads or anything. Okay. So it sucks. I mean, we were all bummed that it wasn't in Cheyenne because also Jay mentioned you want to culminate your spring with a big game. And then, I'm sure it wasn't easy for a lot of guys to come back on Friday. That probably wasn't very, very fun, but.
It definitely wasn't a spring keg Thursday night.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It was for me.
As you know, it might have been.
As you know, it was for me. I always like to end the season with a bang, but.
Yeah, it did suck, but, I mean, they did announce that Jay is going to be in Cheyenne at some point. They're going to get him over here. Cowboy Joe's going to do their thing.
Yeah.
So there will be some sort of a get-together. But at the same time, I think they made the right move.
I do too.
Saturday was miserable.
Yep, it was.
Cold, windy.
Rainy.
Wetty.
Yeah. And he mentioned, too, he said, you guys have no idea what it takes to move a college football team 45 miles.
Yeah, I mean, buses aren't cheap, you guys.
And 80 was shut down, too, for part of Saturday, and that was another concern.
And they had to give the bus company a certain amount of days in advance to cancel. Yep. All those things play a factor, and nobody wanted to see those kids on a wet field either.
No, hell no. But really, the only reason they didn't call it a spring game, too, was the fact that they didn't have concessions or enough toilets at War Memorial Stadium. I mean, so that's that. I mean, there's never going to be enough people there to worry about other than having one side open anyway. So. No, and I thought it was going to be, I envisioned on a beautiful day Cheyenne East being packed and being a lot of fun and just, I really thought the atmosphere would be great coming over to Cheyenne. And I thought it'd also be great just for Cheyenne people who are maybe on the fence to see these guys and then also get autographs and all that stuff. And I just thought, it's an opportunity missed and something I hope actually War Memorial Stadium would be under construction again next year because they're going to do the top deck in the press box. So hopefully next year they do it in Cheyenne
But
again.
It won't be affected, the liability people running through a construction fence.
Yeah,
That won't be.
But they'll still have cranes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping next year they can do it and it all works out.
And the meet and greet with Cody was canceled.
yeah. I'm sure people were bummed about that. I'm sure I got a million messages saying how bummed they were. Not one.
Wow, folks.
It was only online for one day, though.
Give Cody some actually for only like 3 hours, too.
yeah. That ended quick. That dream died really quick.
But we will definitely get something done, to where we'll do a 72-20 deal.
Yeah.
Whether it be in Cheyenne or in Laramie before the season starts. We'll get something going.
I think we should do something here. Give some love in Cheyenne. Laramie can be so hit or miss with people, especially in the summer. That's what makes Laramie so great during the summer. Yeah. Nobody's there. It makes it real special. So I know I say this all the time, but we are going to start locking down a time to do this every week. I did get an email yesterday saying, man, I'm waiting on pins and needles. I didn't want to write you, but
we are definitely going to get some guests. We just have to get the phone hooked up correctly in the studio.
Yep.
But we want to have some guests and some people that obviously that aren't from around here. We can have call in and visit with us about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, anything. And we got some good dudes on the horn that we could call and at least shoot the breeze with. That'd be a lot of fun. I think the fans would really enjoy that.
And there's a lot of Wyoming grads out there doing great things. Maybe it's not even in their sport that they went to school for.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and we'll have some cool stuff this summer. Put out some, like what you're talking about. We'll get some cool stuff. Also got some really good feature stories on the horizon. But mainly gonna get through. We're gonna get through this together every day with our list thing. I think the list thing will be kind of cool. I think people will be into it. Hate to do these list things. They're not my favorite things in the world, but it does get people bitching and it gets people talking, and it also helps us. Next thing you know, you wake up and it's Mountain West Media Days. So that's what I love about it. So helps us all. So it's not just dead all summer and nobody's talking any Wyoming sports.
Yep.
So, all right. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate it. We'll be back at it again next week.